This is ITV News with Lewis Vaughan-Jones.
Good afternoon. The teenager who drove a stolen truck straight into PC Dave Phillips was today found guilty of manslaughter. The French prompt fury, warning a UK out of the EU would not be allowed border controls in Calais. And introducing the good ship Boaty McBoatface. What happens when you let the public choose a name?
Here's our political correspondent, Lewis Vaughan-Jones.
We're used to seeing her public visits, but we're never supposed to know her private views. Officials here at Buckingham Palace are really pretty angry about this. They filed a formal complaint with the press regulator about the accuracy of these claims. Even his friends would admit the Chancellor, George Osborne, has got himself into a bit of a hole. And conveniently enough, he walked straight into a new one today. But there's no doubt the Chancellor is under pressure this evening. The government have spent all day trying to get a clearer message out there, emphasising, for example, that overall the disability budget will be going up. Isn't the truth you've just been given the job so that Jeremy Corbyn doesn't have to have a fight over Trident?
I don't know why Jeremy gave me this job.
Political correspondent Lewis Vaughan-Jones on Mr Duncan Smith's astonishing political broadside.
The man in charge of getting people into work has tonight decided he can no longer stay in his job.
But what can we expect tomorrow?
I think there's one thing to keep in your mind when George Osborne stands up and delivers his budget tomorrow, and that is the economy is not doing as well as he'd hoped, as he'd wanted, as he'd predicted.
Leaflets and Panama, Lewis, not his easiest week.
No, that's right. Pick a bad story, any bad story. I think the government would have expected some criticism here over the leaflet, the fact that they made it at all, the amount it costs, the timing of the announcement. But I think they do fundamentally believe they're right to do it. President Obama hasn't been short of an audience during his visit here. Perhaps fittingly, there was a queue, or at least a line of people to see him off. He's warned that if the UK left the EU, it would be at the back of any queue when it came to a new trade deal with the US. And Nigel Farage admits this hasn't been a great few days for those who want to leave the EU, but says the president shouldn't have got involved.
I personally don't think he really likes us very much, but it's not the point.
The Prime Minister, in front of the lights, camera, defended his actions. But there are still questions after he told ITV News he and his wife did have shares in his father's offshore fund.
Lewis, you know better than most it's a fast-moving story. Has there been any more reaction this lunchtime?
Yes, Alistair, some Labour MPs are actually calling for the Prime Minister to resign.
Those he's talking about are his Tory colleagues. How are they taking that?
Well, as you can imagine, James, there aren't too many people who would take too kindly to being described as economically illiterate, especially when you think about who George Osborne's opponents are here. But there is no commitment on how many children will be given a new home in the UK.
Lewis, do you consider this a significant change from the government?
Well, Alistair, the SNP, who were the ones who asked David Cameron about this issue, wondered whether this was a U-turn. They said they would welcome it if it was. In reality, it's probably more of a diversion. Yanis Varoufakis told me we're stuck with the EU, whether we like it or not. Why would people here want to vote to remain connected and linked to countries like Greece?
Well, the European Union.
Both sides know this vote could be close. There are just 9 days to go. So voting will start Thursday next week. As we stand now, though, still a great deal of uncertainty from both sides, actually, about what way this will go. Reflected in the financial markets as well. The stock market taking a tumble today. If the financial markets don't like uncertainty, I don't think many politicians do either.
And in this referendum, every single vote counts. Our political correspondent Lewis Vaughan-Jones reports on Decision Day.
The Prime Minister chose to put this decision in the hands of the people.
First, our political correspondent Lewis Vaughan-Jones reports on that final push.
Wherever you look today, it will be difficult to avoid the final hours of campaigning.
Good afternoon and welcome to this special lunchtime news programme on Britain's historic and momentous decision to leave the European Union. The result, our political correspondent Lewis Vaughan-Jones rounds up the dramatic events.
The Prime Minister had asked the country to remain in the EU, but the British people chose instead to leave, and David Cameron said he therefore had to do the same.
I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction.
The celebrations started in the early hours of this morning. The UK had voted to get out of the EU. The official, more sober announcement came just after 7 a.m. So we will soon need a new relationship with the EU, a new Prime Minister. There are questions about the Labour leader's position, Scotland and Northern Ireland's place in the UK, and financial stability. And it's only lunchtime. Lewis Vaughan-Jones, ITV News, Westminster. The news where you are follows the national weather. From everyone here, bye-bye.